We've got Winston Watkins Jr., a guy you might recognize that last name Watkins because he is Sammy Watkins, a relative of some kind. I don't know. I'll let Matt fill you in. Again, if you like what we're doing here, like and subscribe to the show and comment down below if you think Winston Watkins is good, bad, or indifferent. But Matt, what do you think about him?
Yeah. So Winston Watkins, he's the on-3 composite wide receiver 20, 192 overall in the class. He's about 5'9", 175 pounds. He's currently going to Venice High School in Florida. I'll talk about that more in a bit, which is the 11th ranked team in Florida. They play pretty good competition. He is currently uncommitted. He is also decommitted from Texas A&M and Colorado in the past. And he's recently visited Ohio State, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Indiana. So I'll start off by saying I do really, really like Winston Watkins Jr. and his skill set. I mean, there really isn't much he can't do at this point. I mean, he has fantastic hands. He's great with the ball in his hands. He can get open. I think he's like a really ready to go player, and I think he might honestly already be maxed out in terms of what he can do. I mean, obviously, always become a better route runner, but in terms of what his ceiling is, I think he's pretty much capped out already. Now, you can take that as a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it's probably bad overall, but he is a very ready to go player, and he does have a very good skill set. As Alfred alluded, he is the cousin of Sammy Watkins, as well as Jalen Watkins and Austin Watkins. So fantastic bloodlines there. He's by far the smallest out of that group. Just kind of got a bit screwed over on the size genetics. Probably destined to live in the slot forever, which I think he'll absolutely eat there out of the slot. I think he can be very productive there out of the slot. But my gripes come from outside of that. In the past 5 years, he's now played at 4 different high schools. He started playing varsity football in 8th grade. Then he transferred to IMG, stayed there for 2 years. Then for his junior season, transferred to, I believe, First Baptist Academy. And now he is at Venice in Florida. So, and he's also decommitted from 2 colleges. So that is something, I mean, we've talked about this a bunch. We don't like to see that. A player being that wishy-washy makes you question, maybe his coachability to a certain extent, not being able to fit into any of these places. Maybe there's some circumstance that we don't know about. Who knows? But still, I mean, 4 and 5 years is a lot.
It is.
Yeah, kind of hard to get around that. But outside of that, I do really like him. Not going to be a wide receiver 1 more than likely in college, but I do think he's a guy that can eat in college and even get drafted in the NFL as well. So it's really just depends on how much you're going to go in on a slot. It's going to be very dependent on what school he does end up going to, because some schools feature the slot much more than others, as well as his future in the NFL. So I don't know. I'm kind of wishy-washy on him because I do really like him as a player, but then there's kind of the other stuff where it's like, okay, well, this guy's not really going to grow into anything else than he is now. And on top of that, you have the school moving around concern. So
yeah,
not really too sure what to do with him at the moment.
David, you have mentioned in the past aura rating. You mentioned the show sheet. This guy might have some aura. What's your take on Winston Watkins and his aura rating?
Yeah, he's got to be about a 9 out of 10 in aura. I don't know. He's got like 101,000 Instagram followers. I think he only has like 32 posts, which I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe he does all those like stories or whatever. But he seems to be very active and outgoing on social media. Yeah, the school changing thing is strange. I don't know. He played varsity as an 8th grader, which is always impressive. I do kind of agree with Matt that he's most likely, this kind of is who he is, which is a very good. He's one of the best route runners in the class, I think. He's super refined. That's always what we're looking for, because we're trying to avoid the year 1-0 thing. It kind of depends where he goes, I suppose. the spread on his rating by these services is one of the more bizarre ones I've seen. So On3 has him as wide receiver 68.
No trades.
And 24/7 has him 31st, ESPN 42nd, and then Rivals has him as their second wide receiver. So,
oh wow,
I get it. I get what Rivals is thinking. Like, obviously, he's such a good. He separates in these camps all the time. He gets open at will. I get that. And I'm thinking that On3 is thinking that I'm pretty sure they have athletic testing on him, and I think we have a 4.63 40 on him. I actually found the video of him running a 40 at the IMG Pro Day, which is kind of crazy to think they have a pro day there. But like if I was the most generous I could be is like a 4.60. So it's just like I'm thinking On3 is just like, all right, this guy is like mostly tapped out. He's like 5'9.5", 175, and he runs like a 4.6. Like that's just not an NFL guy. So I kind of get that part of it, but I think all these guys kind of improve their testing to a degree. I think ultimately he's going to be in the 4.5s and stuff, but still you're talking about a small guy that's not a Blazer, which is a very vulnerable. It's just very vulnerable. There's not a lot of guys in that mold that go on to be anything in the NFL really. So I'm struggling like Matt's struggling. Like I want to like this dude because you just see the route running. You're like, I think part of it is like when I watch him like push vertically, like he kind of like I'm really looking for guys to separate, like get pretty good like definitive separation. I think a lot of times with him, it's like kind of like a half step separation. Like I just think he's going to be mostly like a short to intermediate type guy. Yeah, so it's just like I'll probably fall in between these two. I kind of question how much Rivals really studies the draft in general, like when they're looking at like kind of like measurables and athletic measurables and like thinking what's going to translate forward, because I don't know, like they've had Julian Lewis as their number one guy for this long, and it's just like I don't know. I guess they see different things, but I think. I don't really know at this point. I don't know what to say. Like we got to see where he's going to end up too. That's another big thing. We don't know where he's going to go. The fact that he's decommitted twice makes me a little nervous too. And they're both schools that have been considered kind of sketchy in recent years. Texas A&M and Colorado have been these guys that are just paying.
And culturally, those are very different schools. Like those doesn't make any sense. Like TAMU.
Well, A&M. They've changed coaching. They've changed coaches and stuff. So I don't think it. True. But just at the time when he was committed, people were always. Remember that there was that one class. Was it 2022 class where they
Jimbo class.
Yeah, the Jimbo class where they paid all these dudes and like none of them stuck or whatever.
None of them ever even played.
Yeah, like he was committed. I'm pretty sure back then. So one of the more nuanced evaluations. I don't really have an answer at this point, but.
Well,
good player, overproductive.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give my answer. I'm not going to be drafting a guy like this. Number one, just the skill set. Like you said, I do not see vertical explosiveness at all, and that's not the end all be all. But like, I do get. I mean, he's gonna have to have 120 targets, I think, to be productive. Because it's all going to be inside of 5 yards, I think, and. He does show some nuance. Like there's a couple of plays where he really does like do a nice job of like kind of breaking in and getting the DB to go out, use his leverage against him and then break it back the other way and create separation that way. But he can't create separation with like athleticism. Just kind of explosiveness. He creates a separation, I think, with just quick feet, short area quickness, and he does use leverage well. I think that's because he's probably had a lot of good coaching and probably been very specific football teaching, not just a pure athlete. But so I think Matt said it well. He's probably going to be productive at some point in his college career, assuming he doesn't, skip around to a million teams and things like that. I just think this is a classic, like very limited ceiling type player. And not a guy I'm really willing to wait on or roster at this stage, because even if it all comes to fruition, I think you're talking like, I don't know. I mean, Jarvis Landry, I guess, is like your absolute 100th percentile outcome on a non-explosive slot type guy. So, but I think he shows a lot of maturity with his skill set. But it's an extreme version of the skipping around. And we've talked it with some other guys, but this is like the extreme version. I mean, 4 high schools, 2 decommitments. That is wow. I mean, it's like, is this guy going to stay anywhere to even like get to be a part of an offense? So I probably am out on Winston Watkins despite the skill set, because even the skill set's like, it's good and refined. I just don't think it would equate to, I mean, unless he went to like some air raid and was just getting like 120, 150 targets, something like that. So probably not that interested